So next up is Richa, and Richa will be interviewing Jennifer Haggerty. Jennifer is the head of the Our World Montessori School. Jennifer will be talking about how Montessori schools promote development in children. So let's watch this interesting interview.
Hi, welcome to Impact on the Arts. I'm Richa Bhat, and I'm back with another great guest. My guest today is Jennifer Haggerty, the head of school at Our World Montessori. Jennifer, welcome to Impact.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, it's lovely to be here.
And you're the principal of my daughter's school, but that's not why you're here. You're here because you've made a real impact on our community, and at Our World we see that you are grooming kids in a wonderful way, making them really strong and independent kids. How do you do that? How do you do that with the arts specifically?
Well, I think that one of the most important things in Montessori is that everything is geared to the individual child. So we're working on helping them to develop independence and a sense of self. And I think that is a large part of where art comes in, because children need the opportunity to express themselves. And that ability to be creative and express their own personality, their own thoughts, their own needs, wants, is available not just on one tiny little art shelf in a corner of the room that they get to use for 20 minutes a day, but it's in every area of the classroom. Every part of the curriculum has an opportunity for self-expression. In the sensorial area, the children are using materials to build structures, to make designs, to explore color and form and shape. In language, they're illustrating stories. In geography, they're making maps that, with different materials can actually show the different biomes in a continent. And then, of course, there is the art shelf, where they are able to just explore. And Montessori is not a place where children are given a craft project, where I used to subscribe to those magazines for early childhood educators, and they would have all these ideas of art projects to do with children. Yes, how do you turn a paper plate into a lion?
Into a lion.
Exactly. Or and you have all the pre-cut shapes and things like that, and the children, you put the little circle here, and there's the nose, and the two triangles go here. And then when you look at this wall where the children's artwork is up, they all look almost exactly the same, and that makes me twitch. That isn't art. That's following directions,
So how do you do differently?
Well, we do it very differently. It's about exposing the children to different types of media. So different types of paper and paint and glue and pencils and different types of collage, and giving them freedom to create how they feel. We'll give a lesson to a child on how to use, for example, watercolor paints. To help the child be successful, we'll show them, this type of paper is what we use for watercolor paint because it's thick and it will hold the water. So this is the paper that you will use. And then, we'll show them how to dip the paintbrush in, wipe off a little bit of the excess water so that they don't get just, water on their paper.
Okay.
If they want to just use one color, how to kind of keep the brush in the one pot and, on the palette of colors. If they want to mix colors, how to do that. And then we let them go. And nobody is critiquing their work, or they're not.
Oh, what is that?
Yes, never, never. And we're also not judging on the other side. We're not
saying, "Wow, good job."
Exactly.
Right?
We don't say to them, "Oh, what a beautiful picture! You're a wonderful child." Because then there's the reverse. If you're saying that this picture is wonderful, then it could mean that at some point the child might make a picture that's not wonderful, and then you're making a judgment.
Exactly.
So
when I got my daughter to the school, and the first thing that we learned was that don't tell them it's good job done or a great job done until you really, really, really mean it, because then that would kill the enthusiasm and the initiative of the child, and they would settle for much lesser. And the parent is actually drawing attention to themselves.
Exactly. It's putting the validation and the importance on ourselves and what we think. And at our school, and at home as a parent, I don't want my children to create things because it makes me happy. Because I'm not always there. And the teacher's not always going to be with the child at that moment. We don't want them to create for us. It's lovely when they choose to make a picture and give it to us, because then it's a thoughtful gift. it's showing that they created something for us, they put effort into it. That's wonderful. But they shouldn't be doing it to get a pat on the head or to get a sticker, and we don't reward that way. If a child brings me a picture, I'll make a variety of different comments from, I see that you spent a long time working on this. I noticed that you were really focused on this picture. I can't wait to hear the story behind it. Can you tell me about your picture? Or, today there's a lot of orange and green, I kind of noticed this. And we're trying to help children kind of come away from, for lack of a better word, praise junkies. Do you like my picture? Do you like my picture? Do you like my picture?
Here's a sticker.
Yes,
good,
where
yeah,
good
I know.
girl, good boy.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that I want to ask you is that there's so many books out there, there's so many philosophies out there, how to raise them well. And every parent out there, even, people who are not yet parents, they want to have the most perfect child. How does the Montessori system deal with that kind of, extreme pressure on the parents? And how do you feel that, playing out with the parents and students at your school?
Well, I think that, first of all, there is no perfect parent, and I was lucky that I had Montessori experience before I had my children, but I am by far not the perfect parent. And I have, my Montessori voice, and sometimes the mom voice comes out, which is a lot.
That's good to know.
Yeah. But I think that what Montessori, can teach parents, and we tried to teach parents, is that, we're looking at each child as an individual. We're meeting them where they are, and then we're moving them forward by providing them opportunities to, again, like in the arts, express themselves, to be who they are within limits. There's certainly expectations for behavior at home. There's expectations for behavior in the classroom that involve safety, that involve respect for others, respect for themselves, the area around them.
Responsibility.
Exactly. So how to exist, but yet within that to be, whatever shape they need to be in, whatever personality they need to be in. My daughter said something to me, and I might have already told you this at school, but my daughter said something to me. I was explaining to someone about the square peg round hole kind of thing that people talk about. Can you fit the square peg into the round
Yes.
hole? And she asked me what that was. She didn't understand. And so I tried to explain it to her, And a little while later she came back to me and she said, Mama, Montessori is Play-Doh. Okay.
Wow.
She said, and I kind of said, okay, what exactly do you mean by that? And she said, well, whatever shape you are, you can stick it in the Play-Doh and it will support it, hold it up, and let you be who you are. And I think she was 7 at the time.
She was 7 at that time?
I think she was 7. And again, this is from her, it's her opportunity to express herself at school. She's had the opportunity to have those kinds of conversations and figure out who she is. And again, to go back to the Montessori art, that's what we're allowing them to do. We're taking materials and giving them the opportunity to express themselves. They don't have to make the cookie cutter picture. They don't have to make the paper plate lion. They can make whatever they want to make. They can explain it to us. There's no judgment as to whether it's a good piece of art or a bad piece of art, because of course there is no bad piece of art or bad way to,
right.
For them to express themselves.
Yes, and the thing is that art as such is such a wonderful opportunity to anyone to be able to get involved in something, get into the flow of it, and then just to create something that is totally yours.
Yes.
So I think Montessori is doing a great job with that. And another thing that I really wanted to ask you was, why would how would a Montessori kid kind of adjust in the mainstream environment when they come out of the Montessori schools, and how does that play out in their lives?
Well, it is a transition, of course, because they are going from an environment where it is very individual. They're given lessons one-on-one or in small groups, depending on where they are, how old they are, and how many children are ready for that particular lesson. So they're moving into something. If it's a more traditional program, it's more structured. The class is usually doing something together, and so they need to adjust to that. But what I find, I feel very strongly about the 3-year age span that Maria Montessori talked about. That there's actually, it starts with a 6-year age span, birth to 6, 6 to 12, and so forth. But it's also divided into subsections. And when children are allowed to finish a stage, which tends to be 3 years, she found that that children from 3 to 6 were in the same developmental plane, just at different levels of it. So a 3-year-old was learning similar things to a 6-year-old, but a 6-year-old was kind of farther along that path. And so putting the children in a classroom together provides them an opportunity to see where they've been, where they're going, and also, you know, kind of help each other. You know, a child with a little more experience in independence or in caring for themselves or the environment or in academic works can help a younger child, therefore solidifying their own knowledge, you know.
Right.
And a younger child can look forward and say, oh, you know, when I master this material, then I can learn this. When children are allowed to finish a stage, you know, if they stay from 3 through 6, you know, they finish kindergarten and then they move on, they're ready for a change. So if parents can pay attention to the developmental stage that their child is in and move them at that point when they're ready for something new, it can be easier. But what we find from parents that kind of come back and tell us how their child did, it's overwhelmingly, it's overwhelming positive. You know, the children are, they're very aware of themselves and who they are. Very confident. Their academic skills are always excellent. You know, we've never had any concerns or complaints about that. I did have one parent complain that her child was too advanced and therefore the teacher couldn't meet her needs.
I could have that similar situation
yes,
here.
Yes, so
I'm finding it hard to do with those things.
So that was the only complaint that I got. But so they're academically well prepared. They are confident. They have a good sense of self. They are thoughtful of others. They are considerate of others. And so they tend to do very well. They also take charge of their own learning. So if they need more or want more, they ask for it.
They communicate.
And so they
don't get all kind of complex about it, right?
Yes, exactly.
So that's the, I think, the real contribution or the real impact that Montessori and our World Montessori is such an important part of that in our community in the Capital District region. And the real impact is that you are helping create good individuals, responsible, independent, confident, and smart individuals and human beings for this world. I hope our World Montessori keeps on growing and it becomes a truly universal phenomenon.
Oh, thank you.
I go to India very soon, and I hope that I can, take you there with me to start some Montessoris there.
I would love that. My girls are already talking about the possibility of going with me and showing them what a Montessori student looks like, and they like to be tour guides for things like that.
So there you go. So we should be getting a trip planned soon.
That would be wonderful.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
It was a pleasure to talk to you here outside of the corridors of the school.
Yes. Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. And so that was Jennifer Haggerty, head of school at Our World Montessori. And I am going to be back with another great guest in the next segment of Impact on the Arts next week. So stay tuned. Bye-bye.